Let's start the podcast. Your host Cliff Jacks with you, coming to you on a strange day. This is not your normal full off the Cliff Sports episode. Reason being, I'm a little under the weather. Not feeling that great. Been bedridden for a day or so, but the show must go on. I had a lot on my mind that I wanted to share with you guys, and didn't want to leave all the wonderful everyday Joes and everyday Janes out there waiting and wanting. So, not a full episode today, but we got some good things to go over, I'm sorry. And we're going to get right into it. First off, of course, the NHL season, National Hockey League, started up this week. And the defending champs were the first team to lose a game. Maybe they're trying to do like they did last year, have the worst record and turn that into the best record and a Stanley Cup win. Or the worst record, turn that into a Stanley Cup championship. Maybe. It's really early. I can tell you the Toronto Maple Leafs 0-2 already on this early season. They've scored 9 goals already. In hockey, that's a lot, 9 goals in 2 games. My hometown Dallas Stars took a L in their game they've played so far. The favorites this year, the Tampa Bay Lightning, 1 game, 1 win, so they're in the win column. They put up 5 goals in that first game. Look real strong. A team that I'm going to be cheering for this year because they have PK Subban on their team. I like him. I like his flair. The New Jersey Devils. They lost their first game in overtime this year. Quick hockey rundown for you. We're going to get into some other stuff here. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to hit it fast, hard, and strong when we come back on Off the Cliff Sports. Don't go anywhere. Thank you for listening in to Off the Cliff Sports. I appreciate your guys' time. I'm going to call this episode this week I'm sick because I am sick, but for another reason. The other reason is I'm sick and tired of a certain group of people thinking things should go the way they are because that's what's working for them. And that group of people are the people that you probably can call the 1%ers in the United States especially. We're not really talking other countries. We're talking about the U.S. of A. The governor of the state of California went ahead and signed into law the rule that will allow college athletes to get paid and it not affect their college statute. So if a Nike sponsor wants to pay a couple players some money, say, hey, I like you. I want to sponsor you. I want you to wear my products and you can still play college ball. It's okay. But we have people like the big bad wolves, the NCAA, and their president, Mark Emmert, who disagrees. Based on an article I read in USA Today, the president of the NCAA said this new rule can turn athletes into employees pretty fast. If those guys that are running out there playing football, dunking a basketball, hitting home runs, running around the track, hitting golf balls, tennis rackets, volleyball, wrestling, hockey at some schools, lacrosse at some schools, if they're not already employees, then what are they? Because the NCAA and the universities are making billions and millions of dollars. They're already employees and they're getting paid nothing. This old saying that they're getting a free education. Today, as we found out by a group of 1%ers last year and the year before, a lot of people been buying scholarships and buying their kids way into college. So apparently that education doesn't mean a lot if you can buy it. These kids, education is great, but just because you get education doesn't mean you're going to get hired. There's a lot of people out there right now with bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and they can't get a job. Or if they get a job, it's going to be a job that doesn't pay what their degree says they should make. I also had something read on Twitter, and it was courtesy of Jay Bayless's, who's a sports analyst, from his page, somewhere where he got an article that Dabo Swinney, he's the coach of the Clemson Tigers football team, college football team. Dabo Swinney makes $9.3 million a year. He doesn't think players should get paid because he said they're getting a free education. Now, okay, I do like it. I'm going to stop lying. Everything in the United States, to me, is fully based on race. I'm going to just put it out there. I know a lot of people tell me, hey, I'm not racist. Other people say I'm not racist. But in my feelings every day, you don't have to be racist towards an individual, but there are certain situations that race plays a large role in. Dabo Swinney is a Caucasian coach. There's no African-American college football coaches making $9 million. I don't even think there's an African-American college football coach making $5 million a year. The only one that might make that much is Brian Shaw that coaches out Stanford University out in California. He might. So, at the end of the day, it's a lot of privileged people that's saying, why are we trying to pay these athletes? A lot of those privileged people are also in positions where it benefits them because if the athlete's getting paid, we may have to cut your pay some. And at the end of the day, why is the NCAA having an issue with it when the money's not coming from you? The money will be coming from sponsors that want to pay these players. It's not. It could be the local Joe's Pizza down the street if he wants to sponsor an athlete and say, "Hey, I want you to wear my brand. I want to use your face on advertising." It has nothing to do with the NCAA. Big issue to me. And I have an issue with it because these guys are out here risking limb for limb and they don't see a dime. And if some of them can get sponsorship now, that'll be awesome because you know what? Once you get to that next level, a lot of them's not going to make it to that next level. You have to think of it that way. And the NCAA, at the end of the day, I was hearing somebody else talk about, I think it was on one of the radio shows locally, that the NCAA wants to make sure they can count the money and how the money's divvied out. And I truly, wholeheartedly believe that. By having sponsors do it, they can't determine who's getting paid what, how much they're getting paid. But if they can divvy out the money, if this thing starts to go countrywide, which it should do, they don't have the power that they once have. Which is just like the NFL, just like the NBA and Major League Baseball. Players are starting to take back that power they have. Great job, players. Keep it up. I hope other states follow suit with California. I think I heard there was like 6 or 7 other states that had it on the docket. We'll see how that goes. NCAA, this is not your world. It's the athletes that make all the money for you world. With that being said, guys, it is a Saturday afternoon when I'm recording this episode. I want to let you know the Texas Longhorns beat the West Virginia Mountaineers this week. Whoop-de-doo. I thought West Virginia had them on the ropes for a minute. Guess they gave me a hope dream. But don't worry, next week is the Red River Shootout. Texas Longhorns against the Oklahoma Sooners, live from Dallas, Texas at the Cotton Bowl. Can't wait. I can't wait for Oklahoma to put 50 points on Texas. It's going to be really exciting. All you Texas fans out there, Boomer Sooner. Also, the Michigan Wolverines won a conference game. They beat Iowa today. Congratulations, Jim Harbaugh gets to keep his job for another week. This college thing is just not for Jim. I think Jim, he's a great NFL coach. He really probably needs to get back to the NFL. In the NFL, you can lose a game or two and still succeed. In college, if you lose 2 games, the ultimate goal is out of your reach. That's just the way that sport works. That's not for him. No big upsets this week. All the big name teams won so far today. For the little I was able to watch while I was asleep the other time because of this bug, flu, or whatever I'm trying to get over. Also, this week, folks, NBA training camp is kicked off. The year of the dynamic duos, as we're calling it. All these teams in the West have two superstars, except Golden State, because actually Golden State has 3.5 superstars. They have Steph, they have Clay, they have Draymond. They added in D'Angelo Russell, who played for the Nets last year. So they have, I would consider 3.5 because Clay's not fully healthy yet. And D'Angelo Russell balled out of control on a subpar team. Can you do the same with a team of this magnitude? So can't give him a full spot yet. Interesting NBA season is ahead of us. My loyalty rolls down to Houston because Russell Westbrook is a Rocket now. So is Russell and Harden, and I have to roll with Russell. The Bulls looking pretty good. Young team though. If they can make the playoffs, that'll be a big step for Chicago. If not, it's time to change GM. Basketball is going to be real fun this year. This is a great time of year because we got a lot of sports going on right now. Lots of things going on. We're in the Major League Baseball playoffs. Right now, the Yankees won their first game yesterday. The Houston Astros won their first game yesterday. The Dodgers are actually series tied 1-1 with the Washington Nationals. You also have a tie between the Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals. I think that is probably the best series of all this first round, the Braves and the Cardinals. They're already division rivals, so playing in the playoffs, that's going to be a good one. As I've said before, I still have the Astros and the Dodgers in the World Series. So I'm still right on my picks. All right, folks, another break. Be back in a moment on Off the Cliff Sports. Don't go anywhere. Hey, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Cliff_sports. On Instagram, Off the Cliff_sports. Looking forward to seeing you on there. All right, time for some NFL coverage. First thing first, we're going to go back to last week. I don't know if you guys read or not, depending on how deep you get into sports. But last week, the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens had a game. Cleveland did win that game 40-25, if I'm not mistaken. But during the game, there was a scene where Odell Beckham Jr., I know you guys knew who that is, actually threw a punch at a player. Apparently, none of the 8 referees on the field saw it. So the player he threw a punch at, Marlon Humphreys of the Ravens, decided to take matters in his own hands. So there's a scene in the game where you see Humphreys had Odell Beckham on the ground choking him with 2 hands, literally choking him. It was kind of funny. But with all this, no one got throughout the game, which is amazing. But I bet you the NFL is going to have the audacity to probably fine one of them. I'm sure we'll hear about that fine sooner or later, which is going to be like, whoa, you didn't do anything during the game, but you want to take some of that money for your pockets. If you didn't know, I am pro athlete, pro player most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. That was exciting. Last week was a decent week. The Cowboys lost. Hey, what can I say? Good week. My very own Denver Broncos lost, which, if you don't know by now, I am going for the Broncos to lose every game. I do not like the coaching situation, and I want my franchise, which kind of sucks, to pay by losing as many games as possible. And I honestly think we could lose all our games with the schedule we have. Things are just not right in Denver, and it starts with the head coach. Shouldn't have fired the last coach after 2 measly seasons. Very disrespectful. But what can I say? There was a guy got fired in Arizona after 1 season. That was disrespectful also. But let's move on. This week, we got some interesting matchup. The Chicago Bears play the Oakland Raiders. Interesting because the Raiders' best player, Khalil Mack, is now a member of the Chicago Bears because John Gruden, the head coach, traded him away. He feels he got some good players in return, but the rookies that he received in return for those draft picks, they're not Khalil Mack, and there's no sign that they will ever be Khalil Mack. I think Chicago's going to go to Oakland with vengeance on their mind, and I think they're going to really rough up the Raiders. That's going to be a good one to watch. That's a 12 noon Central Time kickoff. The New Orleans Saints got a game they got to be careful with. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, also a noon game. Saints coming off that beat down of the Cowboys 12-10. Defensive beat down and mentally, not actually on the score. Tampa Bay's coming off a game where they put 50 plus on the board against the team I have going to the Super Bowl, the LA Rams. So, a trap game for the Saints that they got to be careful of. Tampa Bay's 2-2, Saints 3-1. Got to watch out for that game. Another big game where you might start seeing some people get fired. The Eagles at 2-2 play the Jets, who are 0-3. 0-4 record mean you're definitely not going to the playoffs, and it's probably time for some changes because teams don't like going 0-4 and letting things just stay how they are. We'll see how that pans out. The New England Patriots have another bye week. They play the Redskins, who are 0-4. After this game, I look forward to the Washington Redskins to fire their head coach. It took long enough. He shouldn't have never got the job in the first place. That's my opinion. We all have our opinions because we're just as good as those analysts and the reporters out there. Just because we're everyday Joes and Janes, we have our opinions, and a lot of time our opinion is better than theirs. Patriots will be 5-0 after that game, and Washington will be 0-5. One of the best games of the week, Baltimore 2-2 playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 1-3. Steelers are at home. No Big Ben in this game. I think they're finally settling in with their new their new quarterback, Mason Rudolph. And it's going to be an interesting game. For Baltimore, can they handle the atmosphere and can they bounce back from the loss last week? That's what we're looking for. Another critical game this week, the Atlanta Falcons play the Houston Texans. Atlanta's 1-3. The team they have should not be 1-3. They go to 1-4. Their season is over, if you ask me. And that's very disappointing because of the team they have. You have offensive weapons all over the board, and you're not getting it done on offense. And then your defense, with your head coach being a defensive guru, it's not getting it done. There are some problems there. Carolina and Jacksonville play. Both teams are 2-2. The thing to watch here is Carolina and Kyle Allen, their quarterback. Could Cam Newton be out of a job even when he comes back? I think it's possible. Cam Newton's time in Carolina might be ending this year. But we won't know until later in the season. Green Bay 3-1, Dallas 3-1. Live from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Big game. Can Dallas bounce back from the loss? And can Green Bay's defense continue their early season success? It's going to be a real good game. I actually am picking Green Bay to win the game. I don't think Dallas is going to have the bounce back reaction that people think. Now, my pick is a little slanted because Devontae Adams is out, Green Bay's top wide receiver, but I think they have the weapons to produce. The key to this game, the Green Bay defense is a lot better than people are giving credit for. That's something to watch out for. I think it's going to be mid-range game. I'm going to say Green Bay 28, Dallas 17. That's my score. A couple Cowboy turnovers are going to be the difference in that game. You also have the Cleveland Browns and the undefeated San Francisco 49ers play on Monday night. Shocking that the 49ers are undefeated. It's going to be a real good game. The 49ers defense is better than I thought. Cleveland defense has not played up to expectations. That's what I got for that game. I actually am going with the Browns to win that game and San Francisco to take their first loss. The Chiefs play the Colts. Chiefs will be 5-0 after this week. I think the Chiefs really have a strong chance of being 14-2, 13-3 at the worst this year going into the playoffs. That offense is stupid, ridiculous. Whatever words you can think of an adjective or adverb that puts a lot of emphasis on how good they really are. That's what the Chiefs are. That's your NFL this week, folks. All righty, we're going to come back and I'm going to give you a quote of the day and we're getting out of here early. I need to jump back in the bed and cover up. Off the Cliff Sports, don't go anywhere. Cliff Notes, folks, before we get into the quote of the day. Apparently, Kansas had their beginning of the season basketball rally, I guess you would call it. And maybe they took it a little too far. They brought Snoop Dogg out to perform, and Snoop Dogg put on a Snoop Dogg show with dancers and all. And there are some people saying, wait a minute, this show might have went over the top because you had a few dancers and some poles involved. And I'm pretty sure most of the student body enjoyed, but I don't think the other people enjoyed it. So the university put out an apology about the show. You want the people there, but then you don't want them there. And Snoop Dogg's one of those, if you're going to ask him to come in and do something, he's going to do it how he normally does it. He's not going to PG it. That's not his style. Those one percenters got to realize things are not how you want it to be all the time. And it's changing. It's taking a lot for the change to happen, but it's changing. Another Cliff Note for you this week. Back with the NHL, a member of the Dallas Stars hockey team, one of their defensemen, he fractured his sternum in their game the other day. That's got to hurt. And they say a couple of weeks or a few weeks he's going to be out. But for me, I'm probably out for the season once I fracture my sternum. I'm going to have to rethink about what I want to do in my life and if hockey is the right thing. Devastating injury. Couldn't be me. I hope the guy gets well. And lastly but not least, we have a lot of fired coaches in Major League Baseball. Either they was fired this week or will be fired soon. One of the guys, coach from the Anaheim Angels, if I'm not mistaken, 1 year on the job, they went ahead and let him go. And main reason he was let go, which is not being said publicly, the Chicago Cubs parted ways with Joe Madden, their manager for the last 5 years, one of the best in the game. And the talk on the town is that the Angels are going after Madden. So what they need to do before they can hire him is fire the other guy. That's what happened. Tough business. But when you look at the eyes of the players, you don't see it as being tough because, hey, it happens all the time. The best part about it, just because he got fired, he can go and get another job and No sweat off his back. All right, guys. Quote of the day for you coming up. Don't go anywhere. Back on Off the Cliff Sports with you. All right, before we get into the quote of the day, a couple more articles that I need to cover real quick to tell you how bad the NFL is and how greedy the NFL is. Bradley Chubb, linebacker for the Denver Broncos, he suffered a torn ACL in their last game. He's going to be done for the season. But the NFL still managed to fine him for a hit on a player in that game. The man's gone for the season, but you still going to take some of that check away. Also, my great researching staff did pull up the information. Odell Beckham Jr. and Marlon Humphreys were both fined $14,000 for the fight that none of the referees saw last week in the game. $28,000 for the NFL. That league is terrible, boy. I love football. I love watching, but some of the politics behind it, it's sickening. Guys, your quote of the day this week is going to come from a legend, Mike Ditka, legendary coach of the Chicago Bears, player back before then. The quote is a simple one. You're never a loser until you quit trying. You're never a loser until you quit trying. That's the quote from Mike Ditka. Guys, sorry you didn't get your full episode this week as normal. I hope this that you did receive this week is good. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go to bed now. Thank you for listening in. Off the Cliff Sports, Cliff Jacks. We're out of here. Peace.